Hi, and welcome to Drupal Brief. This is an AI-generated summary of another video, podcast, or blog post. If you want to learn more about what's being discussed here, then please go check out the source. This podcast is produced by the team at Drupal Forge. Drupal Forge is the new #1 open-source development and hosting platform. It has all the functionality of the expensive platforms, but at very affordable prices. If you're looking for a new hosting provider, contact us for a demo before you get locked in. Okay, that's it. Make sure to click subscribe, and here we go.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a common headache for anyone working with content in Drupal, that often clunky process of collaboration.
Right.
We're diving deep into a framework called EditTogether, which aims to make those frustrations, a thing of the past.
Uh-huh.
If you've ever juggled drafts in separate systems like, say, Google Docs or Word, waded through endless email threads for approvals, and then faced the Sisyphean task of reformatting everything to fit perfectly in Drupal, you're going to want to hear this.
Oh, absolutely. That feeling of crafting just the right sentence, maybe in Word, only to see it completely mangled when you paste it into your CMS.
Yeah.
It's pretty universal for content creators.
It really is.
And EditTogether is designed specifically to cut out that inefficient dance, to address what we might call the broken system, where your content's first life happens outside of its ultimate home.
Exactly. So what exactly is EditTogether? Think of it like bringing the real-time collaborative magic you find in a Google Doc directly into your Drupal content editing interface.
Great.
It's a field-level content collaboration framework, meaning multiple people can securely edit specific content fields within Drupal at the very same time.
Right. And the reasons why this is significant are, well, they're pretty compelling. For organizations, the potential to boost efficiency is substantial.
Yeah.
Just imagine the hours reclaimed by skipping those extra steps, the constant context switching. But beyond that, it's a really interesting development within the Drupal ecosystem itself.
You're right. And here's where it gets really interesting for our listeners. Unlike major platforms like WordPress or Adobe Experience Manager, Drupal with EditTogether offers this kind of deeply integrated real-time collaborative editing right out of the gate.
Which is pretty unique. Usually you're looking at bolting on external solutions, right?
Yeah.
Often costly ones.
Exactly. And EditTogether builds it right into the Drupal experience.
Precisely. And unlike proprietary tools, whether they're from major corporations or even the paid Drupal service some people might know, EditTogether is built on the principles of open innovation. This isn't a system that locks you in. The strength lies in community support and, crucially, avoiding that dreaded vendor lock-in.
And for certain organizations, particularly those in the public sector, and it's worth mentioning, the initial spark for EditTogether actually came from a state government agency.
Right. That's important context.
Data sovereignty is absolutely non-negotiable. So the fact that your sensitive content doesn't have to journey through the cloud is a huge advantage for them and potentially for many others too.
Absolutely. This framework is architected specifically so that your valuable data stays within the security of your own infrastructure. It's a fundamental difference in how it operates compared to, say, Google Docs.
Yeah.
And it's a key reason why organizations with strict security and compliance mandates are taking notice.
And look, this isn't just theory. EditTogether is currently being used by a state in the northern U.S. I can't name them, but picture a state known for its, hardy winters.
Okay, got it.
They're already seeing real returns, significant time savings, definitely. And the potential to seriously reduce costs by perhaps phasing out those separate collaboration tools that charge per user per seat.
Right. Those licenses can really add up. So, okay, let's take a look under the hood then. What are the core technologies that actually power this collaborative experience within Drupal?
Okay, so at its heart, EditTogether relies on the solid foundation of Drupal for all its content management needs, naturally.
Makes sense.
But for the rich text editing experience itself, it uses ProSmear. Now, if you haven't encountered ProSmear before, don't worry. It's basically a highly adaptable and powerful set of tools for building those what you see is what you get, or YZIYG editors. Fun fact for you, if you've ever collaborated in Jira or Confluence, you've actually been using ProSmear without even realizing it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, ProSmear is definitely well respected in the open source world, known for its flexibility, its extensibility. And for the magic of real-time collaboration, EditTogether utilizes YJS.
YJS, the often unseen engine of seamless collaboration. This is the technology that handles the really intricate work of keeping everyone's edits synchronized and, crucially, it automatically resolves any conflicting changes.
Which is key.
It is. It's so robust that even Docs, the open source alternative to Google Docs supported by the French and German governments, even they depend on YJS.
Wow. Okay. That really speaks volumes about its reliability and effectiveness then. And to complete the picture of real-time communication, EditTogether employs WebRTC. Now, that name might ring a bell for some listeners.
Yeah, it probably should. It's the very same protocol that powers, your video calls like Zoom or Google Meet.
Exactly. So WebRTC is key to making this real-time collaboration efficient. Instead of constantly sending data back and forth to a central server with every tiny edit, it facilitates a more direct communication channel.
Right. Think of it like having a dedicated line open between the collaborators. Much more direct.
Okay, so let's get into the specifics then. What features does EditTogether actually enable you to do? What are we talking about here, feature-wise?
Well, first off, you get a fully featured text editor, thanks to ProSmear, so all your standard formatting options are right there. Bold, italics, lists, you name it.
Standard stuff, yeah.
But the real power unfolds with the collaborative drafting and review capabilities. You can have multiple team members actively working on the same text field at the same moment, seeing each other's cursors moving.
And to streamline that collaborative process, there's threaded commenting, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine a sidebar where discussions about specific parts of the content can happen in real time, right alongside seeing everyone's cursors moving as they type.
And those comments, interestingly, are stored directly with the underlying YJS data, not as separate Drupal comments or something.
That's right. It keeps everything related to that collaborative session together. Plus, nobody wants to lose their hard work, obviously.
Definitely not.
So EditTogether includes autosave with customizable time intervals, and it even sends out notifications to everyone in the editing session whenever an autosave occurs. Keeps everyone in the loop.
Okay, that's useful. And what's really important to understand, I think, is that this isn't some isolated add-on, right? It's designed to work with Drupal.
Absolutely. Hand in glove. It integrates smoothly with core Drupal workflows like content moderation and the workspaces module if you're using that.
And for folks in regulated industries, that native revision tracking must be a significant benefit.
Huge. Because EditTogether builds upon Drupal's inherent capabilities, you get that full audit trail and version history that compliance often demands. It's all just layered on top.
And it's collaboration at a very granular level, the field level, you said.
Yep, field level. While the initial focus is on core form types like text fields, drop-downs, and yes, even collaborating on radio buttons, which sounds a bit weird.
Yeah.
But it's surprisingly cool and effective in practice. The long-term goal, though, is to support all the standard Drupal form elements.
Right. And you mentioned future possibilities, like with views or experience builder.
Yeah, the potential there is quite exciting. Imagine being able to collaboratively configure views using the familiar Views UI, maybe even as a training tool for new site builders.
So interesting.
Or even working together in real time within the Experience Builder interface to craft page layouts. That can be really powerful.
Definitely. Now, let's maybe pivot slightly and touch on a really fundamental difference in how EditTogether operates compared to the more common cloud-based collaboration platforms many people might be using.
Okay, yeah, good point. So think about a typical software as a service or SaaS collaboration tool, Google Docs, Microsoft 365, whatever. When multiple people are working on a document, their contributions are usually sent up to a central server somewhere in the cloud.
Right.
And that server then distributes the changes back down to everyone else. This means your content is, at least temporarily, living outside of your direct control on someone else's servers.
Whereas EditTogether's architecture, because it leverages WebRTC, is more of a direct peer-to-peer connection, right?
Exactly. Once an initial connection is made, which is facilitated by what's known as a signaling server, we'll touch on that,
Right.
the actual content data flows directly between the user's web browsers.
So when one person makes an edit, instead of that change going up to a central hub and then back down, it's communicated directly to the other collaborators in that session.
Precisely. YJS plays a crucial role here too, by keeping a local copy of the document state in each user's browser and then only exchanging the tiny diffs or changes between them. Very efficient.
And this architectural choice has some really significant implications for, well, data sovereignty and security.
Huge implications, because your content essentially never leaves your own infrastructure, or rather the browsers of the people collaborating within your trusted network. It can make achieving regulatory compliance much, much simpler.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't have the added complexity of worrying about where your data is physically stored or who might have access to it in some remote data center somewhere else in the world.
Exactly. And this model also offers the potential for reduced server costs associated with data transfer. You're not constantly uploading and downloading potentially large amounts of data to a central point.
It really highlights the difference when you consider those, frankly, horror stories you sometimes hear
Oh, yeah.
about a seemingly innocuous CMS plugin, like, I don't know, a spell checker or something,
Right.
inadvertently sending sensitive content to servers overseas. EditTogether's fundamental architecture is designed to avoid those kinds of unintended data leaks by keeping everything within your control.
Yeah, it's a very different philosophy.
Yeah.
Okay, so to really bring the benefits of EditTogether to life, let's maybe walk through a practical example. How it can transform a typical, often cumbersome content workflow.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, picture this familiar scenario. A technical writer drafts a policy document, maybe using a specialized tool like RoboHelp, or even just good old Microsoft Word.
Standard practice for many.
Right. Then they have to email it to a policy analyst for review. What follows is often a lengthy back and forth of email threads, maybe multiple versions floating around with tracked changes.
Oh, the version control nightmare. Version 4 final revised d.docs.
Exactly. A general headache for everyone involved. Eventually, they might need to export it to a PDF using Adobe Acrobat before finally copying and pasting it into Drupal, likely introducing all sorts of formatting issues along the way.
And losing all that valuable revision history from Word or the emails.
Precisely. It's a very fragmented process. The content exists in multiple isolated systems. And this makes it really difficult to track the complete history of a piece of content, which, as you said, can be a real challenge when it comes to audits or meeting regulatory requirements. There's no single source of truth.
Okay, now let's contrast that with a workflow powered by EditTogether. The technical writer and the policy analyst. They can draft and collaborate directly within Drupal.
In the same interface.
In the same interface.
Yeah.
Notifications can alert relevant team members when content needs their attention. And with a Drupal extension like Workbench Approver, you can even lock down the content moderation state until specific individuals have given their approval, all within the same system.
So the key difference here is that the entire content lifecycle, from the very first draft to final publication in Drupal, happens in one central location.
Exactly.
The complete history, including all the collaborative edits, the comments you mentioned, it's all easily accessible within Drupal itself, makes auditing and compliance significantly more straightforward.
It really streamlines things. So
Yeah.
who exactly stands to benefit from all of this? Let's maybe break down the value proposition for different roles within an organization.
Okay, well, for digital directors and content teams, the primary advantages are pretty clear. Streamlined workflows and a real boost in productivity. Think about the time your teams could save. The reduced friction in just getting content created and published. Less hassle.
Definitely less hassle. And for the financial folks, the potential for cost savings is a significant draw, right? The ability to potentially retire subscriptions to separate collaboration software that could lead to substantial reductions in recurring expenses.
Absolutely. Those per-seat licenses add up fast. And from the perspective of CIOs and IT personnel, EditTogether offers the benefit of system consolidation.
Good point.
By bringing real-time collaboration directly into Drupal, it reduces the complexity of managing and integrating multiple disparate tools. Fewer systems to worry about. Patch, secure.
Right. And perhaps most importantly for everyone, really, there's that enhanced data sovereignty and security we've been emphasizing throughout. Knowing that your organization's valuable content stays within your control, that provides a significant level of peace of mind, especially these days.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, so where does the EditTogether project stand today? And what are the plans for its future development? What's the current status?
Well, the good news is that the framework is fully functional. It's already being used in a real-world deployment, as we mentioned.
So it works?
It works. The slightly less ideal news is that setting it up currently can be a bit complex. The documentation and onboarding processes are still under development. It's not quite at the point where you can just, download a module, click install, and have it running perfectly right away. There's some configuration needed.
Right. And that's precisely why the team behind it is actively seeking beta partners. They need that real-world testing and feedback from users like you, like our listeners, to help them refine the setup process, smooth out the rough edges, and reach a point of sustainable open public release.
Yeah.
Think of this beta.
Also, improving the overall user experience and accessibility, that's key. And refining how conflicting edits are resolved, especially around Drupal's core save functionality, that interaction needs to be seamless.
Right, avoiding data loss when two people save at almost the same time.
Precisely. There's even consideration of more tightly integrating the Drupal save function with the autosave feature, maybe making it more automatic.
Interesting. And the commitment to an open source release remains strong.
Absolutely. That's a core principle. But, ensuring the long-term sustainability of such a project is a key consideration.
Yeah.
Maintaining a complex framework like this requires ongoing resources, ongoing effort. It's not trivial.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Which naturally leads to the call for sponsors, I imagine.
It does. Think of it in a similar vein to how, say, MediaCurrent has contributed to the Drupal CMS with its sponsored design system work. It's a collaborative effort that ultimately benefits the entire Drupal community.
Right. A common model in open source.
Exactly. And becoming a sponsor of EditTogether offers several potential advantages for interested organizations. You'll have the opportunity to directly influence the product's future direction based on your needs. You can secure early access as a beta partner, and you help demonstrate its commercial viability, which is essential for attracting further investment and ensuring its long-term success and maintenance.
Makes sense.
Hmm.
Okay, and finally, let's briefly touch on some of the technical requirements beyond just the core Drupal installation itself.
Yeah.
You mentioned a signaling server earlier.
Right. So to enable those initial peer-to-peer connections between collaborators' browsers, EditTogether relies on an external service known as a signaling server.
Okay, what does that do?
Its main job is to sort of introduce the browsers to each other. It uses technologies like PubSub to notify browsers about other users who are available to collaborate on the same piece of content. It doesn't handle the content itself, just the connection setup.
Got it. Just the handshake, basically.
Pretty much. Additionally, the system uses Stun and potentially Turn servers. Stun is a standard networking protocol to help browsers figure out their public IP addresses. And Turn is used as a fallback to relay traffic when users are behind really restrictive firewalls or on certain tricky VPN configurations that prevent direct connections.
And those involve costs.
Yeah, there are usually some associated costs with running or using Stun and especially Turn servers, but they are generally quite minimal for most use cases unless you have massive numbers of concurrent users behind difficult firewalls.
Okay. And are there open source options for the signaling server part?
Yes, absolutely. It's worth noting that open source options exist. I believe Open Relay was used in some of the demonstrations we've seen, so you don't necessarily have to rely on a proprietary service for that.
Good to know. And just quickly, media management. How does that fit in?
Yeah. The initial development was done with a client that used Entity Browser for managing media. However, creating a media library plugin for EditTogether is definitely possible. Much of the groundwork for integrating media is apparently already in place. It just needs that specific plugin built.
Okay. And multilingual.
Multilingual content collaboration is supported right from the start, built in.
Excellent. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the key takeaways for you, our listener? What should people walk away with?
Ultimately, I think EditTogether offers this really exciting prospect of significantly streamlining your content workflows and truly enhancing team collaboration, all within the familiar, secure environment of your Drupal instance. That's the big thing.
Right. And that focus on data sovereignty provides crucial security and compliance advantages that you just don't get with many cloud tools. Plus, there's that real potential for tangible cost savings by consolidating tools.
It's that potential aha moment, isn't it? Realizing you can have seamless, real-time collaboration deeply integrated into the very heart of your CMS.
Yeah. And while the project is still in active development, that presents a unique opportunity, really. A chance to get involved early.
Right. By becoming a beta partner or maybe a sponsor, you can directly shape the future of content creation within Drupal and help bring this innovative solution to the wider community faster.
So if you're intrigued, if this sounds like something that could solve problems for your organization, we definitely encourage you to reach out. Inquire about a private demonstration, express interest in joining the early access program, or maybe discuss tailored sponsorship opportunities.
Yeah, connect with the EditTogether team. Explore how it can address your specific workflow needs.
Definitely.
And maybe a final thought to leave people with. Consider this. What would be the full impact, the ripple effect, of having true end-to-end content control directly within your Drupal instance? What new content creation strategies, what efficiencies might become possible when collaboration is this seamless, this secure, and this deeply integrated?
It's definitely a powerful concept to think about, rethinking the whole process.
It really is. Well, thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.
Okay, we're done. To close off this podcast, I just wanted to remind you that this brief was a fully AI-generated summary, and we take no credit for the original content. If you want to learn more, then check out the source. This podcast is produced by the team at Drupal Forge. Drupal Forge is the new #1 open-source development and hosting platform. It has all the functionality of the expensive platforms, but at very affordable prices. If you're looking for a new hosting provider, contact us for a demo before you get locked in. And if you like this podcast, hit subscribe, post a link on social media, and recommend it to 2 friends. That's it. See you next time. Bye for now.